Hey, this is a response to Agman's Xbox 360 fanboys. Help me understand. Now, clear things up. I am not an Xbox 360 fanboy. Um, I don't particularly like some of Sony's business practices, but I've always had a beef with Sony for one thing or another. But that's enough for another video. But I just want to sort of address a couple of things that were in your video. First thing is that you see far more sycophantic Xbox 360 fanboys than PS3 ones. Now, I left a comment on my other account, but basically that's because there were so many more people who own 360s than PS3s. I worked at a GameStop back when the PlayStation 2 just came out, and please believe me, there were just as many PlayStation 2 fanboys sprouting off complete nonsense. I mean, there were people who came in and said that they would come in and ask me, "Hey, I want a console that could take advantage of my HDTV." And this is back Xbox One, PS2. I would tell them, "Hey, well then you want an Xbox because it can do surround sound in real time and it can do progressive scan, both things the PS2 at that time couldn't do." And people would still walk out with PS2s because it was the most popular console. I had people tell me that they didn't want to buy an Xbox because the Xbox 360, oh, I'm sorry, the original Xbox controller had too many buttons, when in fact they had the same exact amount of buttons. So I mean, this ridiculous fanboyism has actually been going on for a very long time. I mean, back to the to Super Nintendo versus Sega Genesis. I mean, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure you remember that type of stuff. You know, um, let's see some other ridiculous claims that I heard. I mean, people would just say just complete random stuff. Excuse me. Now, another thing that you were talking about is essentially that yeah, some essentially game taste is subjective, and I think you're right. Game taste is something that you really can't tell. Now, I agree with some of the things you said, not all of them. I think that the PS3 has some great exclusives, and I think it has a larger variety of exclusives than the 360, just in terms of how many games are out on it. But there are a couple things you said about like PS3 development and stuff like that that are simply not true, and that's why I decided to come out and and tell you because I actually I have a Linux SDK on my PS3 as we speak. I have a Creators Club. I'm sorry, not oh yeah, my PS3. I have a Creators Club membership for indie games on my 360, and I've actually gone through the throes of developing a 360 game and looked at the Cell SDK and a lot of the stuff that you think can only be done on the PS3. Uh, it's simply not true. Now the way that it is done can only be done on the PS3 because of how difficult the cell processor can be. Look up why like these larger companies won't even touch the PS3. Why Valve won't even touch the PS3. I mean, there's a whole thing like go ahead and search for Gabe Newell hates the PS3, and he'll actually explain why in a very technical sense. Like Killzone in and of itself, there are no textures because the PS3 can't do any textures. It's the same thing with Uncharted and Uncharted 2. Great games, by the way. I own both of them. You know, but I'm just sort of coming at you from a more technical point of view. Um, I think Sony made a lot of really bad decisions when it came to the PS3 that they actually sort of cared more about the format war than the console war. Like they wanted to convince me that the Blu-ray drive inside of the PS3 would give me longer games, and then you had games come out like Heavenly Sword, which was like 5 hours long, which is the same length of like an old school game like Streets of Rage 2 or Final Fight, which were only a few megabits. You know what I mean? And also that cell processor was another cash cow thing that they wanted to do, where essentially if they put more in, they would get more out of it. Unlike Microsoft, they usually just purchase parts for for the two consoles that they've come out with. Now, I do have an issue with Microsoft, but just from a pure development point of view, it's almost like you cannot use any of the stuff that developers have been using in terms of solutions. Like, you know, way back when the first games did 3D, like stuff like Star Fox with the FX chip, and the Super Nintendo could push rudimentary amount, like a small amount of polys. Um, they're still using some of those same solutions, but the PS3 you can't do that stuff. You sort of have to throw out 20 some odd years of knowledge of programming in 3D. I guess it wouldn't be 20; it'd be like 15. And you sort of have to rewrite it, and that's sort of what makes it frustrating, and that's sort of what makes it, so like you have to like go, sort of do things around it. So I guess the basic point is this: um, sycophantic fanboys follow every popular console. It just so happens that this generation also happens to be one where internet proliferation is like through the effing roof. You know what I mean? And The 360 may not deserve all of its praise because I'm on my third one. I won't lie to you. You know what I mean? But I just thought I'd come at you from a different perspective. You know, because I think these kinds of things are interesting. You know, rate, comment, subscribe. I don't know where the new video box of the comment thing is. I don't know. But click on it and let me know what you think.